mother fucking shadow people, man. Right? These creepy little fucks that you all voted on. Y'all asked for this shit. Alright, so we're going to do things a little differently this time around. We're going to see how this goes. I think it might add a little flair, maybe, to what we're doing here. Number one, it is approximately 12:30 at night. It is obviously dark as shit outside. We got a little bit of a darker complex going on here today. Why? Because we are about to dive head deep into the creepy world of these, whatever the fuck they are, shadow people. All right, we're going to dive as deep into these people as we possibly can. We're going to find out as many stories about these people as we possibly can. We're going to find out who in the fuck they are, why they're here, what they're trying to do, why they're fucking with us. Come on, shadow people, what's going on? Hell, maybe during the time that we're airing this, at some point in time, maybe one of these shadow people is going to show up. Wouldn't that be some shit? In the middle of all this, just some shadow person just popped up on the screen. There he was, there she was, doing their thing. Whew, it scared the bejesus out of me. I'm not kidding, I've already got a little bit of goosebumps going on just thinking about what we're about to dive into with this. Not so much with who these people are, or what it is that they are, or may not be, or may not be doing, but the stories that people have to share, man. The internet's a crazy place, obviously. A lot of false stuff out there. But if there's a shred of truth to a lot of these stories that are out there, fuck that shit. And shadow people are some creepy fucks. And we're going to get into all that here very, very shortly. But before we start with all that, before we even get into shadow people, we're going to set them down right over there. They ain't going nowhere. We still got them. It's fine. Relax. We're going to get to shadow people. I know you voted on them. That's what you want. You didn't want black-eyed children. And it's okay. I was upset at first because I'm a little honesty here. I wanted black-eyed children. And you all didn't go my way. You went with shadow people, and it's cool. And we're going to do shadow people, and I'm excited to do shadow people. Black-eyed children's coming very, very shortly, though. Don't worry. It's in the tubes. It's coming. I know we haven't released an updated schedule yet for an education in horror and what all's going on with that, but it's coming as well. A couple updates as far as that goes. So we talked a little bit about how we were going to be switching over to subscription service March 1st. That's still, fingers crossed, hopefully coming on March 1st. We'll see. You never know. Things can always go awry, but that is our goal. But we thought about it and we said, okay, so we're asking for $5 a month for this so that we can make it better. We can spend more time on it and everything else. Is 2 episodes a month really worth $5 a month? Nah, it's not. It's not. I didn't like it at all. So I talked to Trish, and we decided that not in February, but when this launches full tilt in March, we're going to do an episode a week. And we've already got the schedule written out for it, all set up, ready to go. We're going to post that on our Facebook page very, very soon. Very excited. I really am. I think it's going to be very cool to be able to expand more into a lot of this stuff and to get into a lot of different areas and to be able to provide you with a quality product on a weekly basis. I'm hoping that you can end your week with us. So we're going to post these every Friday, starting March 1st, not starting today. This is February 1st, right? Yeah, February 1st is when this is airing, and that's where we are right now. Talking Scared. We just did an interview with Alex. Who the fuck is Alex? He's motherfucking Pumpkinhead, man. That's who he is, and you know that because you watched Talking Scared. And what a great interview we have with Alex. Now, that's a lot of presumptions on my part because we haven't actually done that yet. It's one of those future past shits that keeps, going back and forth and everything else. But I know Alex, and I know the interview rocked, and I know that he kicked ass at it. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell him now. Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Pumpkinhead. Thank you for killing it. Talking Scared every other Monday. Please, 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 check it out. Come be with us on Talking Scared. Hear what these actors and actresses have to say about the industry that they really make sure keeps going. One other thing about about today's episode. So a little different format. And by what I mean by a little different format is I am attempting to do this a little tipsy. So why are we doing that? Fuck, I don't know. Because I felt like it. I said, fuck it. Let's do it drunk. See what happens. See if it's any different. Maybe it adds a little flair to it. Maybe it just makes me sound dumb. I don't know. But we're going to try it, and we hope that you guys will share some feedback with us and let you know what you thought of Drunk James versus Sober James. Maybe Drunk James is more laid back. Maybe Drunk James talks too much. Maybe Sober James is better. Who knows? Who cares? Drunk James is with you tonight, and Drunk James is about to jump into Shadow People. No more introductions, no more news, no more updates or anything like that. You guys voted for this. You asked specifically for Shadow People, and please don't ask me to say specifically 2 more times tonight, because I'm not sure that SP function is going to work real well in the current state of mind that I'm in. So I'm going to say it one more time. Specifically, you all asked for it. We're giving it to you. So here it comes. Jumping right into this shit. Motherfucking Shadow People. Let's do this. All right. So we got some images going on in the back. Different artistic visions of Shadow People. Obviously, there's not a lot of actual photographs of Shadow People. There's some sneaky fucks. But we've got several different photos that are going to be panning behind me, obviously, of these shits. Before we get into this, I think maybe at some point in time in my life, I'm a skeptic. I always have been. I do this with an open mind, open heart, open eyes. And I hope that during the time of doing these, that at some point in time, I get proven wrong. That's really my ultimate desire. It would be nothing cooler for me. I'm sure for Trish as well. She's more of a believer than I am. But undeniable proof, which I know is fucking probably impossible. But it would be really, really cool if at some point something like that happened. I have had moments where you think you see something. I can remember as a kid, one night in particular, I'm going to share my personal story before we get into Shadow People. I remember one night in particular, and y'all obviously don't know me personally that well. I was raised in a very religious upbringing, heavy Christian, Baptist, that style of upbringing. So the Bible, church has always been a real center of my life when I was growing up. And I remember one night in particular, after church, I used to always go drink with a glass of water by my bed. And I remember one night I woke up and the water was tipped over. And it was weird because I slept with the door closed, no animals in the room, so it wasn't an animal that had knocked it over. And the table was far enough away that it would have taken really I'd almost had to get out of bed to be able to knock the glass of water over. And it got knocked over one night, and then it happened again the next night, and I thought that was kind of weird. And so I decided to conduct, I got the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it a little bit. But one particular night I decided, let's test this. So let's just, 12, 13-year-old mind, let's test this shit. But this is one of the most vivid images and vivid memories I have from those times. So I put the water in there, made sure it was full, and everything else, went to sleep. Third night that this had happened, and this time instead of just waking up to the fallen glass of water, woke up to something completely different. It just thinking about it, it really genuinely scares the shit out of me thinking back to it. Couldn't move, sleep. That's going to be a tough word tonight too. Sleep. Oh, Jesus.
Paralysis.
Thank you. I'm going to need you to say that word probably for the rest of the night. Can't move in your fucking sleep. Shit don't work. Body won't function. Sleep is fucked. But you're awake, right? So sleep paralysis. I'm sorry, those S's are going to be a struggle. I couldn't move. I was scared out of my mind. And I remember distinctly my lights being on. They may not have been. I'm sure my mind was playing tricks with me a little bit. But I remember distinctly my lights being on, and I remember fucking distinct as shit. I can still see the motherfucker, man. Just standing in my doorway was something. It could have been a shadow. It could have been a figure of my imagination. It could have been a demon. It could have been an alien. It could have been a fucking shadow person. It looked like a shadow person. It scared the fucking bejesus out of me. Couldn't move. Water, again, tipped over. And I just remember it staring at me. And I say staring at me. I don't remember it having any eyes. There's a lot of reports of these things having red eyes. We'll get into that a little bit. This particular one didn't. It just looked like a shadow. Just staring at me through the doorway. And genuinely one of the most terrifying times of my entire life. I remember trying to scream for my parents. Couldn't get the words out. Couldn't get anything out. Just pressure on my chest. And that image just staring straight at me. I've actually never even spoken to my parents about it. So if they're watching this, this will actually be the first time they're hearing about this particular night. And where I slept was, so my parents were on the whole other side of the house from where I was. And my younger sister slept down there with them, but my bedroom was on the whole opposite end of the house. So I really kind of slept by myself for the most part. And well, I obviously always slept by myself. Wasn't nothing weird going on. But I was just on the whole other end of the house. Trisha's shaking her head at me. I don't give a shit. It is what it is. But I slept on the other end of the house, and it was fucking terrifying. The feeling of alone, the feeling of not knowing what it is you're dealing with, if you're dealing with anything, is fucking terrifying, man. And if you've ever experienced one of these, if you have a story you want to share with us about it, we'd love to hear them. And we can talk about them in the future, and you know, we'll talk about them on these in education and horror, or well, tonight really it's a drunk occasion in horror. But it is what it is. Love to hear your stories as well. As far as the ending of that story goes, nothing climatic, nothing exciting. It didn't hover over my bed. It didn't touch me. I didn't have any deaths in the family immediately following it. Nothing tragic happened. Nothing bad like that. Just scared the shit out of me completely. Which seems very unnecessary for a shadow person. If you're going to do that, you better have a fucking story, or you better have a message at the end of it, man. You can't just be scaring people for no fucking reason at all. It's fucked up. It's really, really fucked up. But anyways, that's my story. The water glass was knocked over. Again, third time in a row. And for whatever reason, it stopped after that. I don't have too much more experience as far as shadow people that I could really point at distinctly and say. Let you into my personal life a little bit before we get into this. This topic hits a little closer to home for me. I've had other incidences that maybe not. Stuff that's happened at my house, stuff that's happened at the parking garage where I work. Shit that could be very, very easily dismissed by science, dismissed by skeptics. But I know that it's times and experiences that stuck with me and genuinely scared me at times. And every time when I think back onto it, it really feels like a shadow people type of thing. I get chills thinking about it. I just got goosebumps right now. So I understand shadow people. I understand.
Well, I gotta stop you for just a second. There's a good reason you're getting goosebumps, because something keeps focusing.
No. We'll deal with that as it comes. And that would be so cool. I can't see what's going on behind me. Jesus. I'm not stalling on getting into this. I wanted to share my story, but it does hit closer to home. All right, so we're going. That was my story. That's my 2 cents on shadow people. Now we want to get into what shadow people are and what's going on with all of this. All right. So imagine you're at home, you're reading, sitting comfortably at the sofa, dim light. There's some movement across the room that catches your attention. It seemed dark and shadowy, but there was nothing there, right? So you return to your reading, and a moment later, there it is again. You looked up quickly this time to see the fleeting but distinctly human shape of the shadow pass quickly over the far wall and disappear. And your mind goes, man, what the fuck was that? Right? You look at your partner maybe, or whoever might be there with you, if there's anybody there with you, and you ask them, did you see that? Did you see that shit? Yeah, I saw that shit. You know that shit? No, I don't know what that shit was. and you almost kind of don't even want to talk about it. There's a definite aura that surrounds these sightings, and I'm not wanting to get into it. So what was it? Was it a natural shadow? Was it your heightened imagination? Are you maybe like me and you've been sipping on the old Jack Daniels a wee bit too much? And you're seeing shit that's not there? See, clankety clank, man. I'm not going to break my bottle of Jack Daniels, I promise. As a matter of fact, 2 seconds, this is a drunk one. Drunk episode. This is what happens. Jesus fucking. More me about that shit back there behind me. No better whiskey than Jack Daniels. It's delicious. Ah, goodness. Hits your belly just right, doesn't it? But anyways, so what was it? Maybe it was something that seems unreal. Maybe it was a ghost. You don't know. But I'll tell you what, something that seems to be spreading phenomenon, apparitions that are coming to be known as shadow people or shadow beings. We're going to refer to them as shadow people. That's the only time I'm going to say shadow beings, because I think shadow beings sounds dumb. Shadow people sounds really, really cool and way more badass than shadow beings. So perhaps this is an old phenomenon with a new name that is now being discussed more openly, in part thanks to the internet. The internet hasn't only brought light to shadow people, it's brought light to fucking everything that's out there. Some good, some bad. But it's definitely allowed people to share their stories and their experiences a lot more than what they used to be able to. So it's able to be discussed more freely. Maybe it's a phenomenon that for some reason is manifesting with greater frequency and intensity nowadays. There have been many, many more reports of shadow people sightings and shadow people stories than what there has been in the past. Now again, I believe that it's not necessarily, and this is again, humble opinion. I believe that we're seeing more incidences of this based solely on the evolution of technology. People are able to spread their word more, they're able to talk more. I mean, hell, you got an asshole like me that sits in front of a camera, talks about things that he likes, and people listen to it. And it's so easy to be able to get your spot out there and share your stories. Now, I hope that we're doing a little bit more than just sharing stories here. Obviously, we've got a lot going on with Haunted Honeymooners at gmail.com. Yeah, I'm drunk, but I can still remember our email address. That's right, hauntedhoneymooners at gmail.com. You're not going to fuck with me tonight. I got you. Okay, I got you. Hauntedhoneymooners at gmail.com. Website's coming soon. You like that little promo right in the middle of it? You didn't even see it coming. Just sideswiped you with it out of nowhere. This is an education in horror. It is episode 3. We got haunted house reviews coming. We got Haunted Farm down on Valentine's Day. I know this is a serious rabbit trail. Y'all gonna need to buckle the fuck up for this car ride. All right, you have a drunk driver behind the wheel right now, and you chose to get into this fucking car, and we're gonna see what happens. All right, so put your seatbelt on. Hold on, real tight, like. Okay. Now, I don't know what's gonna happen here, or what's gonna be going on, or where we're even fucking going half the time. Okay, but we're gonna get there. We're going to get to our destination. We might be a little dented and dinged up by the time we get there, but we're going to get there. I know we're still talking about shadow people. I know. I haven't forgot. Promise. Okay? I had to get that promo in. Okay? So you got it, right? Haunted Honeymooners. What was that? At gmail.com, right? Send us an email. Share your shadow people story with us. Let us know what we can do better. Tell us to be like, man, don't ever do a drunk one again. It was horrible. That's fun. Maybe it was the best one ever. Maybe you loved it. But we don't know if you don't tell us, okay? So let us know what's going on, man. Tell us, share us your stories about shadow people. Fuck that dude. Man, imagine waking up to that shit. That shit's just over your bed, just staring at you. Just all up in your face, man. Whoo! Anyways, we're moving on now. All right, we're back into it. Back into shadow people. Those who are studying the shadow people phenomenon say these entities almost always used to be seen out of the corner of the eye and very briefly. Man, that was not my experience. It was not briefly. It was not the corner of the eye, man. I stared straight dead at that motherfucker. I remember it just clear as day, staring right at it. Whatever it was, I'm not saying for sure it was a shadow person. I'm saying there was a shadowy figure in my doorway that looked like a person. So you put it together as to what you think it is. my personal opinion is a motherfucking shadow person. I'm not even fully sure what they are. Not even, still to this day, fully sure that that's even what happened. There is still a lot of skepticism in my mind. I like to be able to prove things beyond a shadow of a doubt. Facts. Facts are important to me. And when you get into topics like this, facts are obviously really hard to discover and really hard to pull off. But I can't just say for sure that that's what happened. Because I also can't say for sure that I didn't have the worst goddamn nightmare of my entire life either, which is a distinct possibility. Like I said, I try to be very open-minded with this and listen to every possible option. But if I'm to be honest with you and tell you what my personal opinion is it was a shadow person, and it was not a corner of the eye thing. It was not a passing glance, man. He stood there for a while. It seemed like forever that he just stood there, just staring. I think it's the worst part of these guys, man. It's just the staring, just looking at you. Man, fuck. Anyways, more and more people are beginning to see them straight on for longer periods of time. Again, I think it's mainly because of the evolution of technology, but if you take it down a different trail, man, these fuckers might just be getting more ballsy with it and not really caring anymore if people are talking about them. Hell, maybe they want the word to spread that they're here and they're for real, because there have been many, many more reports of them, and it's no longer just this passing glimpse or just this thing that you saw for a second and it's gone and it's over. Man, these things are fucking, they're popping up more and more. And it's not lunatics that are seeing them. It's not people like me that are interested in dark things. And I think it's safe to say I am waist deep in some twisted shit. I love it. I ain't got no problem with it. It's where I'm going to be until I'm neck deep. There's nobody that's ever going to change it. There's nobody that's ever going to fix it. And not that it needs fixed or anything like that. This is me. This is my personality. This is who I am. I want to be involved in this stuff as much as I can. But it's not just people like me. It's not just the people that you would consider quote-unquote crazy. It's very, very sane people. Doctors. People that have vast educations. People that are more skeptical than I could ever be. That are seeing this stuff beyond a shadow of a doubt. They're seeing something that is fucking with them. And, we're going to do Mothman here shortly, and the only reason I'm talking about Mothman a little bit, that's kind of a prequel. It's very, very hard for me to look at something that has consistent stories from different areas, from different people, from different regions that all kind of match up similar in style, and not say that maybe there's something there. When we do Mothman next, you're going to see that a lot, that it's not just West Virginia and that area that's seen this thing and what it is or is not doing. And God damn the chills, man. This episode's freaking me out a little bit. Gee, fuck. But I'm in it. I'm in it all the way to the end. All right, I'm not gonna quit on you. I promise. This episode, from everything that we have done, this is the first moment of some real creepiness that I'm feeling right now. All right, 2 seconds. I'm going to tell her, fucking stop telling me to look at the computer, okay? Stop it. We're never going to get through this if you don't stop. That's Trish, the producer, fucking with me a little bit, and I need her to stop so I can get through this, all right?
Guys, disclaimer, anytime I set up videos in the background, he doesn't see them until we do this.
So anyways, yeah, fuck your disclaimers. Anyways, so these experiences, they're getting more intense. So we look back on the past. It kind of started off as kind of a little thing that was brushing by your eye. Maybe you saw something in the corner. Now they're getting in your face a little bit more. It's longer. It's more drawn out. They're staring straight at you to the point that now it's just becoming more and more intense. Some experiences testify that they have seen eyes, usually red, on these shadow beings as well. Now that's one thing I can say. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, whatever it was that night did not have any eyes that I could personally see. It didn't have red eyes. There was nothing glowing. I don't remember anything about the eyes. I remember the head. I remember the shoulders. I remember the arms. Those were the real. And the arms were so fucking long, man. Like almost touched the ground. It was just weird. Good news is he didn't have a hat on. We're going to talk about the hat shadow person at the end, kind of our climax to all of this. Not a good thing. Not a good thing to see the hat guy. He is not there to wish you luck or bid you good tidings. There's some bad stuff coming in your future if you've had an experience with the shadow person that wears the hat, at least according to what I've been able to find through my research. So these mysterious sightings have become a hot topic of conversation in paranormal chat rooms, message boards, websites, and has given widespread attention on paranormal talk radio. I don't think we qualify as paranormal talk radio yet or anything like that, but I think that if we were to classify ourselves, it is a little more closer to the paranormal style of things, a little more closer to the haunted and kind of fucked up world that we live in more than anything. You'll see that with what has either been an already released before this was shown, new listing of an education in horror, or something that we will be posting soon. Again, past, future, man, it's like playing Back to the Future with yourself. Okay, it's hard to keep up with what all's going on around me and where we are in correlation to shooting this. So bear with me. Show me a little bit of sympathy. This is the last time I'm going to turn around and look at this shit. Stop pointing. This is it. Yeah, that's fucking creepy. That's very, very close. The skinny arms and the broad shoulders, especially with that. That's fucking freaky. It's very, very close to what I remember. It wasn't that close to my bed, but it was definitely in the doorway, and that is just the long, tall body. Fuck that. Anyways, what are shadow people? Let's get into this. Let's move forward a little bit here. Number one, could be a figment of your imagination. All right, absolutely. Who are we if we don't explore that option? The explanation we get from skeptics and mainstream science, and who are usually people who've never experienced the shadow people phenomenon, is that it's nothing more than an active human imagination. It's our minds playing tricks on us, our eyes seeing things in a fraction of a second that isn't really there. Just fucking illusions. Real shadows caused by passing auto headlights or some similar explanations. I think blaming it on driving by car is definitely a cop-out. I don't imagine there's a lot of situations where it's just a driving by car, but whatever. Without a doubt, there are these explanations possibly can account for what some, if not many, experiences. The human eye and mind are easily fooled. Can they really account for all these cases? Can you really look at the numerous cases of shadow people and just say it's a figment of your imagination? My personal opinion is no, you fucking can't. There's no way, man. There's just too many accounts to just say it's all in your head. Again, I'm not trying to talk about Mothman too much, but it's something that we're going to experience with Mothman a little bit. There's too many matching fucking stories to just dismiss it and just say that that's what it is, man. It's just a figment of your imagination. In my humble opinion, that's bullshit. That's bullshit written by people that are way more skeptical than I am, that have already decided that stuff like this doesn't exist without even experiencing it or looking into it themselves. And if that's your opinion, that's fine. You're absolutely entitled to your opinion. I respect it just as much as I respect you worshiping Mr. Potato Head. It's perfectly fine. Do whatever you want. Worship the fuck out of Mr. Potato Head. Bow down to his greatness. And don't believe that they're shadow people when one's standing right at you going, hey man, hi. Okay? Say it's a figment of your imagination. Whatever helps you sleep better at night. But I'm not here to sleep better at night. I don't remember the last time I got 8 hours of sleep, so I'm not really that worried about it. It's what it is. Okay? I'm here to figure out what the fuck is going on with shadow people to the best of my knowledge and share that knowledge with you. Bring you into my world. Bring you into my life. Alright, option 2. Maybe they're ghosts. To call these entities ghosts defines first a definition of what I mean by ghosts. But by almost any definition, shadow people are somewhat different than the ghost phenomenon. Whereas ghost apparitions are almost always a misty white, vapor-like, or have a decidedly human form or appearance, very often with clothing. Shadow beings are much darker and more shadow-like in general. Although the shadow people often do have a human outline or shape, because they are dark, the details of their appearance is a little lacking. Again, referencing back to my own personal story, I remember arms, shoulders, heads. I don't remember clothes. I don't remember really much more than that. Kind of just a mass beyond the shoulder, arms, and head that I can recall. Definitely not a ghost. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever that whatever happened that night, whatever I personally experienced, if these goddamn goosebumps don't stop, was not a ghost, in my personal opinion. And in my personal opinion, I don't believe that shadow people are ghosts. I think that if you are to, if you're to just throw the skepticism to the side for the second and say this shit's real, ghosts and shadow people are two completely different entities. To me, I don't think that either one of them are looking at the same purpose or anything like that. Do I believe a ghost could maybe become a shadow person, or maybe someone that dies could, instead of being a ghost, be a shadow person? Absolutely. I think that's a very distinct possibility, but I don't think that shadow people and ghosts are the same entities entirely. Could be very wrong. This is obviously a very open subject, and I'd love to hear your all's feedback on this and what you think, especially with some of the different topics and different areas that we're going to get into with this. But in contrast to many ghost sightings in which the witnesses can describe as the ghost's facial features, style of clothing, and other details, the one detail that is often, the one detail most often noted in some shadow being sightings is their glowing red eyes. That's the one area that I just don't have that one on my particular experience. I didn't see glowing red eyes. For me personally, I didn't, but there's a lot of reports that did. Trish had an experience, and she said that she saw red eyes. Again, myself, I didn't, and I'd love to hear your stories again. So we've checked off imagination, possibly, maybe they're ghosts, demons or other spirit entities. This is going to be the one I kind of lean more closely towards. Not demons, but maybe more the spirit entity side of things. The dark countenance and malevolent feelings. That's the one thing that really gets me about shadow people. It's the malevolent feelings, the feeling of dread, the feeling of not knowing what's going on. What is this thing? What's happening? That's what I relate to with shadow people more than anything else. It's often reported in association with these creatures that have led some researchers to speculate that may be demonic in nature. If they are demons, we have to wonder what their purpose or intent is in letting themselves be seen in this matter. Is it merely to frighten? Maybe it's to warn. Maybe it's to attack. I don't know. Mine just seemed to want to stare at me. And that was it. And again, I was very Christian background, very heavy into church. Maybe it was a fucking demon. Maybe it was something just fucking with me, just checking out. You know, making sure I stayed in order and didn't get too far into the Christian side of things. I don't fucking know, man. I really don't. I really wish I had an explanation that I could point at and say that's exactly what this was. This is exactly what happened. I don't know to this day. And I'm an over 30-year-old grown adult that's allowed to manage his own restaurant and everything else. I have children. And I cannot tell you what happened when I was 12 or 13 years old or what the fucking thing was. So anyways. Demons, other spirit entities, maybe. Are they astral bodies? One theory suggests that shadow people are the shadows of the essence of people that are having out-of-body experiences. According to Jerry Gross, an author, lecturer, and teacher of astral travel, we all travel out of the body when we are asleep. That sounds like a load of horse shit to me. But, to each their own. Again, potato head. Perhaps this theory says we are seeing that's all that we're seeing. We're just seeing people just traveling around. Other people that are asleep, fucking with people that are asleep. And to that, if that's the case, I say, fuck you. I only get 4 to 5 hours of sleep, and not usually as is. Let me have those 4 to 5 hours of sleep, please. Shit. If you're doing that, fucking stop it. It's not cool. It's not appreciated. And I personally would really like for you to cut it out. Let me get some goddamn sleep. So there is that theory. And then the last, there's another theory, time travelers. Another theory is that people from the future could have found the means to travel to the past, to our time. However, they are unable to accomplish this incredible feat, perhaps in the state they appear to us merely as passing shadows as they observe the events of our timeline. No. No. My humble opinion? No. Because here's the thing. Why would somebody that's just essentially a Taurus, why would there be such a feeling of dread involved with it? And in none of these stories that we're going to get into here in just a little bit have any happy endings. There's none that's like, and at the end of it, he high-fived me and told me that when I'm 25, I'm going to win the lottery and I'm going to be balling outrageous. That story does not exist on any form of the internet that I have looked. And I have scoured long and hard, deep and long. You take deep and long however you want. I don't care. Trisha's getting all itchy over there. She's getting the heebie-jeebies too. I could really fuck with her and tell her about the shadow person that's right behind her. But stop. You stop. Stop making me look at the camera. Or the fucking computer, man. Whew, this drunk one's a little rougher. But that's some freaky shit. Another possibility is interdimensional beings. I like this one a little bit. Even mainstream science is fairly convinced that there are dimensions other than the three we inhabit. And if these dimensions exist, who or what, if anything, inhabits them? Some theories suggest that dimensions exist parallel and are very close to our own, although invisible to us. And if there are inhabitants in these other dimensions, it's possible they have found a way to intrude to our dimension and become at least partially visible. If so, they could very well appear as shadows. It has been held by psychics and other sensitives that beings on other places of existence are of different vibrations. Science is beginning to look at reality on a quantum level, some shit I can't even begin to possibly try to explain to you. I'm sorry, I'm not a quantum physicist, I'm not a scientist. I cannot explain to you how this interdimensional shit works. I'm going to try just a little bit here. Essentially, when you look at interdimensions, from my very, very, very basic knowledge of it, so please don't roast me on this if I'm wrong. I'd love to hear it if I am. If there's anybody that knows this stuff a little more than we do and wants to expound on it a little bit more, please talk with us, share with us. We'd love to hear your knowledge and your information on the subject. But from what I've gathered, think of it kind of as an interstate. Okay, so you have 4 lanes running together. And while they are separate lanes, you can cross in between those lanes and become a part of a different lane. And so what this theory is kind of saying is that one of those parallels has figured out how to cross lanes. And that's all that it is it's somebody that's over here in the left lane, merging over into the right lane, and hanging out with the right lane for a little while, but not being fully a part of the right lane, if that makes sense, kind of observing it, and with the option to jump back into their lane at any point in time. That's the best, easiest to understand definition of these interdimensional quantum physics things that my brain can possibly wrap around and try to explain to you all. In the same way that particles of the smallest size exist in vibrations. Perhaps some theorize the vibrations of our existence are beginning to match with those of another dimension, which is shadow people, possibly aliens. I don't really get into the aliens one too much, but we're gonna hit it real quick. So aliens, the alien and induction phenomenon. We are gonna do aliens and abductions one day. It didn't make the list this time around. Didn't make the cut. Wasn't there yet. But at some point, we are going to hit up on aliens. We're going to talk about them for just a second here. Abductees have reported in many cases that the alien greys seem to be able to pass through walls and close windows and to appear and disappear abruptly, among other otherworldly talents. Perhaps, too, they can go about their alien agenda disguised in shadows. There's a good deal of overlapping among the above ideas, of course. Aliens and ghosts could be interdimensional beings, or aliens could be time travelers, and some believe demons are responsible for all of this disturbing phenomenon. I don't buy the aliens one. I don't get into that. I don't think that's what this is. It just seems too different from the common stories you hear about aliens, as to what's going on with shadow people. And of course, it can just be simply a fucking mystery. There's no way to prove or disprove any theories about a phenomenon that is so mysterious, that happens so quickly and without warning, man. Science finds it virtually impossible to catalog or study such phenomenon in any methodical way. All we can do at present is to document personal experiences and try to piece together what the shadow people phenomenon might be. Perhaps it's an old mystery becoming more recognizable. Perhaps it represents a doorway to and from different planes of existence. Perhaps they're simply just shadows. Perhaps your mind's just fucking with you. But anyways, that's what they could possibly be. I think we've hit just about every topic as far as what they can be. So what types of shadow people are there? There is the human-shaped shadow people. This type of shadow person is pretty self-explanatory and the most common seen by witnesses. The only difference in description might be due to how well the ghost has become visible, coupled with the mental condition of the disembodied person. Shadow ghosts have been described as sometimes missing facial features. I can say that about mine. I didn't see a single fucking facial feature. Details of clothing, hair, and other extremities such as hands, feet, etc. The shadowed mask can be seen, can be transparent, but has also been described as black static. Shadow people are often thought to be male in appearance, although children and women have been described in accounts. If I was to say it, I think mine was an adult male. Personally, from what very little experience I had with it, and I think it's an adult male. As a matter of fact, if I'm honest, and I think back to what it is, I think I know exactly what the fuck it is. But it's so crazy, and we're still getting to know each other a little bit. I'm going to keep that one right up here in the noodle for now. Maybe one day I'll share it with you as to what I think it is, but we need to get to know each other a little bit more before I let you that deep in my brain. And there's some messed up stuff going on in there. I can't let you all the way in yet. We got to get to know each other a little bit first, right? So anyways. Here we are. Shadow people move quickly and are able to disappear into walls, through doors, etc. Many people claim to be able to see shadow people easier through peripheral vision. I think that's a cop-out. Fuck that, man. You either see them or you don't, man. Don't tell me you're seeing them out the corner of your eye, which is all peripheral vision is. Especially when the shadow is moving, often causing witnesses to feel like they are being watched. Many times shadow people are just as afraid as those who see them. It's common for them to run and hide, which would explain a lot of accounts of seeing it for a second, then it's gone. That's not my personal story. He did not seem afraid in the least. There are some ill-willed specters who attack while in shadow form. Sometimes while people are in bed, I was fortunate enough to not feel like I was attacked. But something was there that night. So another type of shadow person is the black mist moving shadows. This is one of the most common of shadow people sightings. Many times the shadow person may not keep their shape when moving fast or be seen as a dark mist before becoming fully visible. They are intelligent and tend to frighten people who cannot really identify them as a human form. I get why people would maybe be a little more scared of that one. To me... Oh, fuck. To me personally, I think that the masked shadow person would be a little easier to deal with versus the one that looks human and looks like it's staring straight the fuck at you. Animal-shaped shadow ghosts. What animal-shaped shadow ghosts are is, so when your pet dies, and say that somebody else dies at the same time, that pet is then assigned to a shadow person to keep that shadow person happy, keep that shadow person safe, so that shadow person in the shadow world has a nice little kitty cat or doggy that they can pet and keep with them in the afterlife. So even in the afterlife, you can feel what it's like to have to feed an animal, to have to clean up poop after an animal, to have to take care of an animal, and all that other stuff. And if you haven't figured it out yet, that is a complete load of horse shit. I made all that shit up. Right now. That's just right off the top of my drunk head. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. There are animal-shaped shadow ghosts. This is real. This is real life right here. We're getting back into reality a little bit. Sometimes animals can be seen as apparitions or in shadowed form. It is more common to see smaller animals lower to the ground moving shadows. Eyewitness accounts of shadow animals are less common than sightings of shadow people. I don't even know why I included that, to be honest with you. Whatever. If you've seen a shadow dog, or you've seen a shadow cat, okie dokie. Cool. We're super happy for you, and we'd love to hear your story. Don't feel like it's going to be quite as exciting as some of the actual shadow people stories, but everybody loves pets, whether they're real or shadow people or shadow pets. Whatever, we're cool with it. Share your stories. And then there are a few other types of shadow people. It's uncommon for people to see a shadow ghost peeking from around a corner. Some people typically prefer the cover of dark. Shadow people, typically prefer the cover of darkness. This is likely because they can remain more covert, blending in with the shadows. The ghosts of children are smaller and often tend to be more playful. You see, if you've done Black-Eyed Children, if you'd have voted fucking correctly, Black-Eyed Children, we'd be into that shit right now. Talking about these little fucking ghost kids running around. But we're not. We're talking about shadow people because that's what you wanted, including Alex. And I was disappointed in you, Alex. I really was, man. You voted for shadow people and you voted wrong. And we're going to talk about it, or we have talked about it in our interview already. We're going to and have. Yeah. Something like that. Anyways, you voted wrong, Alex. I'm disappointed in you, Pumpkinhead. I'm calling you out on your vote. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm super glad that we did shadow people. But it could be the ghosts of small children. Both adult and child will sometimes peer around corners or from behind objects to see if the coast is clear to move about. Shadow ghosts have also been seen wearing hats. No shit. The second I said seen wearing hats, I got another little chill factor that ran across me there. It is not uncommon for people who are disembodied to still mentally project their image wearing clothing. Apparitions of people attest to this fact, as sightings of see-through ghosts are often described wearing clothing or period dress from their era. Many believe the Hat Man type of ghost, I don't even want to talk about this fucker, to be something otherworldly, but their traits seem to be human. Other strange anomalies associated with shadow ghosts tend to be disturbing to people. Red eyes or horns, I haven't seen a lot of examples of horns, make this type of shadow ghost seem demonic in appearance. Alright, so we've talked a little bit about Jack Daniels. Another sip? Shut up. Yeah, whatever. A little sippy sip. You think that it's not going to be delicious, and it is every time. We're going to jump in here in a second into what they want. What these shadow people are after. So why are they here? We went over what they could possibly be. Aliens, ghosts, figment of your imagination. What types there are. There's animal shadow people. There's children shadow people. There's just big black masses of shadow people. There's human forms of shadow people. And that's all well and good, but why are they here? What do they want? There are various theories of what the shadow people want. I'm going to list the more prevalent ones in no particular order. Shadow people are foreshadowing events which are harmful to the person who sees them, and possibly even the people who know this person, such as family and friends. The other one is that they are soul collectors, and fuck that, man. Could you imagine that? Just a group of fucking entities running around just collecting your fucking soul, man? Huh. Fuck that. There are folks who believe shadow people / creatures are actually interdimensional beings. We've talked about that a little bit. Time travelers, we've talked about that. They mean no harm to us. I don't believe that. I don't buy into that time traveler thing for half a second. I'm more inclined to go with the quantum physics theory than I am the time travelers theory. I don't think either one of those is what's happening. In my humble opinion, I could obviously be wrong. I don't have a shadow person to sit down and talk with, although that would be cool. Nah, nothing. I tried. I'm very open and inviting. Like, they could sit down right here. We'll interview them, man. We'll have an episode of Talking Scared right the fuck now. But I don't think that's gonna happen, regretfully. Man, you want to talk about some shit going viral? That would be the one to do it, I bet. But anyways, interdimensional time travel. That's not it. They're not here to come harm or abduct us or anything like that. The most common theory, which is brought up time after time, is that shadow people are actually demonic entities. That's what I went with, right? Demonic entities whose sole purpose is to cause havoc upon our lives and in the people we love and trust. Excuse me. If these shadowy figures are truly demonic or even just purely evil entities, then surely they want us to suffer, to live in fear, refute our religion, and may even want our souls. I believe personally, and we're going to get into some stories of shadow people here. We also got a murder in time that we're going to get into before we get into these stories and our conclusion talking about the Hat Man. Personally, my humble opinion is that there is nothing good about shadow people. I believe if you're seeing one, or you think that you've seen one, that it's number one, I wouldn't take it lightly. Okay, don't disqualify this shit, man. Trust your instincts. Trust what you're seeing. Trust what you believe in your heart, man. I don't take this shit lightly. I was very young when it happened, but I've had another experience that honestly I just don't feel comfortable talking about. I've talked to Trish about it. What happened one night after work, and I just don't feel comfortable bringing it up right now. But this shit can possibly be serious, and you know, if you're seeing something and you need to talk to somebody about it, and talk to somebody about it. We're not professionals, but we'll talk to you about anything you fucking want to. I think we've shown that a little bit with our response rate and everything like that, man. We'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. Don't give a shit what it is or what you're thinking, man. We'll talk to you about whatever. Just don't take this shit lightly, man. Go if you think psychics are the answer, go see a psychic. If you think church is the answer, man, go to church. If you think Mr. Potato Head's the answer, man, go see Mr. Potato Head. See what's going on with me, man. Maybe he knows what's going on with shadow people. Maybe Mr. Potato Head knows a lot more than we give him fucking credit for. What's that going to do now? What's Mr. Potato Head doing? What's he telling us? Is it time for a murder in time? It is. Well, that sounded horrific. So, murder in time. Forgive me before we even get into this, because you all know that my pronunciations can sometimes be, especially when it comes to names. I am drunk and getting a little drunker as the night continues. So bear with me as we go down to murder in time. But the director, Lehman R. Hunt, who was 56 years old, died at a hospital an hour after being hit by a burst of bullets from automatic weapons. His Italian chauffeur, who was unhurt, reportedly told the police that two men of olive complexion had made the attack, but that only one had actually fired. Mr. Hunt, who was, we'll get into him, he was an American Director General of the multinational force in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. That's who Mr. Hunt is. This is the dude that got murked. Mr. Hunt was on his way home at the time from the headquarters here of the 10-nation multinational force, which included 800 American soldiers. The force was set up in 1981 to monitor observance of the Israeli-Egyptian peace treaty, which provided for the return of Sinai to Egyptian control. The peace treaty was an outgrowth of the Camp David Accords of 1978. A half hour later, after there's an ambush in Lebanon. A half hour after the ambush, Millen radio station received a telephone call from a man who said Mr. Hunt had been killed by a group that wanted imperialist forces out of Lebanon. Get the fuck out. And Italy out of North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The caller said the group who opposed the installation of American cruise missiles at Sicily, the caller saying that he represented the fighting Communist Party, said, "We claim the attack on General Hunt, the guarantor of the Camp David Accords." The fighting Communist Party had been identified with the Red Brigade. It was a guerrilla organization took responsibility for the kidnapping on December 17, 1981 of Brigadier General James L. Doozer in Verona. General Doozer, an American who had a NATO command, was freed on January 28, 1982. Mr. Hunt was a civilian, having been appointed director of the Senia Force after a sovereign service career of 32 years. So Mr. Hunt kind of overseeing a few things over there in a very hostile region. He was a native of Mill Creek, Oklahoma, served in the Coast Guard from 1945 to 46, and joined the Foreign Service in 1948. The State Department, Mr. Hunt became executive director to the Near East and South Asia Bureau in 1970. Then a deputy assistant to the Secretary of State Secretary of State, not the Secretary of State. If he was the Secretary of State, I want that job. That seems like a killer job. But this job, not so much, because he got shot the fuck up for it. I don't feel like you're going to shut the fuck up over Secretary of State. Secretary of State, maybe a little more so. So that's what he's doing in 1974. His last diplomatic assignment, he was charged as he was on assignment in the Treasury Department section dealing with Saudi Arabia when he retired in 1980. Mr. Hunt was appointed head of the International Force in Civilian Operations and served with it on August 3rd, 1981, the day the United States, Israel, and Egypt signed an agreement creating the two bodies. The force headquarters was moved to Rome from Alexandria, Virginia. Why the fuck they did that, I don't know. In the autumn of 1982. And since then, Mr. Hunt lived there with his wife and a son who currently lives in the United States. The Italian news agency said the Italian chauffeur was the only witness to the killing, and we're going to start to get into the unfortunate demise of Mr. Hunt. It said an abandoned car, presumably used by the killers, was found near the scene shortly after the attack, which was said to have occurred a little before 7 p.m. that night. The chauffeur, 64-year-old Antonio, told the anti-terrorist brigade of police the two gunmen had driven behind Mr. Hunt's car, which he said was bulletproof, to the entrance of his house. There, the driver said one gunman got out and fired several submachine gun bursts, but they failed to penetrate a side window. Can you imagine that? You're just driving home, okay? You're driving home, you're in this nice limo, you're director of fucking everything, got your wife there with you in Rome, everything's cool and kosher, you think you're doing good for the world, and then a car pulls up behind you with the sole fucking intention of killing your ass. Specifically, you. And you're in a bulletproof car, but still, man, that shit's got to be scary as a motherfucker. I couldn't even imagine. The thoughts that must cross through one's head, thinking about your wife and your son, and getting home to them. And I have a family, and obviously I know that one day I'm going to die. But I couldn't imagine something like just leaving. I think that's the worst part for me to think of with death, for me specifically, is leaving them behind. Not so much me. I am what I am. You're a human body. At some point in time, this shit's going to end. I've accepted that. I understand that as a fact of life. The part of death that scares me is leaving behind my kids. And I couldn't, that would be the fear that would overwhelm me. Personally, is leaving Trish behind and her having to deal with these hoodlums forever. Because they're hoodlums, man. I love them to death, but they're gangsters. They're really small, weird gangsters that are very gangster in how they do things. My little girl's flipped tables before. We're working on discipline with her. She's one. So you back your judgment the fuck up. Don't you be talking about my little girl. That shit'll get you to fight real quick. She's flipped tables, though. For real. Like baby tables, not real. If she was flipping real tables, holy fucking shitballs. We would have to go see a doctor or a pediatrician or a fucking psychic or an exorcist or something if she was flipping legit tables. But she's not. They're baby tables. It's okay. We're working with her every day. Every single day. Ah, man. Ticka ticka! That is one of her favorite things. Anyways, getting back to our story here. So one round was from another burst fired with the barrel of the gun wedged through a narrow opening between the top of the window and the door frame. And by the way, if you're being shot at by a submachine gun fire in a bulletproof limo, why the fuck would you not roll your window all the way up? Are you fucking shitting me? You're still rolling cracked with that shit going on? My windows are up. I'm going to be throwing pillows up there. Anything I can find to protect myself. I'm definitely not going to be rolling crack, smoking a cigarette, flicking my ashes out the window, everything like that. No, nope. Mr. Hunt, bad call. That would actually be the one that would get him fired through that crack there. Said that then the assailants fled on foot. It was the first terrorist attack on an American official in Italy since the kidnapping of General Dozer. Italian forces are deployed to pinpoint this to no avail. Followers and suspects of the group have been considered virtually neutralized. There have been attacks since then, however, against Arab diplomats, the Libyan ambassador, blah, 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 blah. The general story here is that Mr. Hunt was in the wrong place, the wrong time, doing the wrong thing, and he got killed because he cracked his window. And if you're in a bulletproof limousine, people are shooting at you, you ain't got to take my advice seriously. You ain't got to listen to all the things that I say. But maybe, just maybe, roll your window up before you do that. And you end up with the next subject of a murder in history. So now, we're about to move back into Shadow People. But again, this is a drunken education in history. I got a little more drinking to do. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So let's get into some stories. The stories of Shadow People. I got all these off the internet. Obviously, different accounts. I will try to give some credit to some of the people that have posted this stuff. Some of their names are fucking whack. So I'll try my best to get through them, but the main focus here is the stories. So the first one. This comes from Help for Kin 1. So Help for Kin 1 writes, my 10-year-old daughter sees shadow figures. I believe it started a little over a year ago. She would be in her room or in the bathroom and would scream in terror and tell us she saw the shadow. After a few weeks, I decided to take her to the eye doctor. Makes sense. He checked her eyes, dilated them, fully inspected. There were no findings of issues. One night, my husband was laying in bed beside her. She frequently was laying in bed by her because she frequently saw the shadow that day. And she said, there it is, right over us now. Man, that would freak me the fuck out. He saw nothing. My husband and I, for the next several weeks, told her she was safe and nothing will hurt her. She complained less and less. I sometimes feel like when you say it to your kids, that you discourage them to talk about what's going on in their lives, man. Embrace their stories, man. You're only get those stories once. Man, don't push that stuff down. So she complains less and less. I decided the other day to ask her if she was still seeing the shadow. I respect that. And she asked, why? Are you going to send me to a therapist? My heart broke, and we had a very long, detailed conversation about how she is still seeing shadows. She said they don't scare her as much anymore unless she sees them when she is not expecting them. The shadow in her house is typically the same. She did see a box the other day on her floor. She kind of laughed it off, and she told me that at her friend's house she sees different shadows. This shit's following this girl around, man. Take this shit seriously, man. Listen to your kids. Don't just disqualify it as nonsense, man. Even if it is just nonsense, man, at least let them tell their stories. I am not a perfect parent. My ex-wife will be more than happy to tell you as to how much of a shithead she thinks I am. But, man, listen to your kids' stories. Listen to what they have to say, man. They're not going to say it forever. And when that time's gone, that time's gone. At school, she sees a shadow that she thinks is young because it's smaller. Makes sense. She can feel their presence. She said that she said she cannot tell if they are male or female because they are not that detailed. She can't see clothing and they are not transparent. They mostly just watch her. I can't see anything, nor can my son or husband. They have 2 dogs. They don't seem to notice anything. Her pediatrician looked shocked when I told her and changed the subject quickly. That's about the end of that story. We have another one talking about a grandson. And I don't have listed here where this story came from. I apologize. But I didn't list this one. My grandson finally admitted to his mom today that he has been seeing both shadow people and spirits. So this kid's getting it hard, man. That apparently have not passed. Ever since hearing about this, I have been Googling my head off and found this place. The shadow figures he describes are exactly as I've read about them online. Today he made his mom aware he's seeing older people dressed in older fashioned clothes, man. Man, this kid, dude, holy shit. Talk about some sixth sense shit going on for this poor kid. My grandson told his mom that this has been going on since he was 5 and he's now 9. And the story's happening, man. It's 4 years this kid lived with this shit by himself. Kept all this shit inside, man. Talk to your kids. But was afraid to come out and say he saw anything. It all came out in school today when they arrived home and drove in the driveway, and he got out of the car, froze and started crying. As his mom comes out, goes, "What's wrong, Hunter?" And Hunter says, "Don't you see the man staring out the window of the home across the street?" Ah, man. His mom, of course, said no, and Hunter said, You see, that's why I never said anything, man. Holy shit. And then he describes the person to be grayish in color, bald head, and an older gentleman. And this kid is freaked the fuck out for life. Wow. Imagine that as an adult. Just seeing some figure fucking staring at you, man. Not knowing what it is and being a kid, man. Damn. Whew. Alright, next story. During the late 1960s, Sniggity, that's their name, that's their username, is Sniggity, encountered shadow people on 3 separate occasions. The first time, they caught one looking through their bedroom window before disappearing. Pretty common. The second was a few months later when they awoke to 5 shadow people lurking aimlessly around their bedroom. Fuck all of that. 1 is enough. I don't need you bringing your colleagues in and hanging out and staring at me while I'm trying to fucking get my sleep on. The third and final time was late at a summer camp. Nothing good happens at summer camp. But they were laying in bed in their bungalow when shadowy figures appeared and began walking in circles around the bed. Fuck that. In all 3 occasions, the figures were pitch black, darker than the dimly lit room. The users experienced all they want from shadow people and hopes to never encounter one again. Another user had a few encounters with shadow people, but there was only one that truly terrified them. On a summer evening, they stayed up late watching television with their sister. As they got up to go to bed, they passed by the front door and saw a Native American man standing in the frame. He stood at about 6'5", wore a black suit with an old-fashioned top hat. That's not good, man. You don't want to see that top hat. Had long hair, sharp blue eyes. The user screamed, making their sister jump up and impulsively throw a salt shaker at the figure. The shadow person's face fell into what seemed like a sorrowful expression, then shimmered away through the front door. Maybe he was just trying to say hello, and then these assholes were throwing salt at the dude. Later, when describing the experience to their father, he said the shadow person sounded like a description of a great uncle who had died when he was young. So there you go. You're throwing salt at a great uncle that had died when you were young. It's pretty messed up. Isify was 5 or 6. They went into their backyard to play on their trampoline and saw 3 men that were standing there side by side wearing matching hats and were pitch black. They yelled at the creepy characters to get the fuck off of their trampoline, man. Get off our trampoline. It's ours. their parents heard the shouts, raced downstairs. To this day, the parents recall how frightened the kids were. The kids told their parents that there were people on the trampoline, but when they looked back, the shadow people had vanished. They didn't step on the trampoline for 2 years. But that's not the end of it. Their grandma, now, so now this isn't the kids now, this is their grandma, described waking to a dark figure waking to a dark figure standing above her many times at their old house. One night, their mother woke and saw a similar figure standing above their dad. They've moved houses since, but the shadow people seem to have followed. Fuck that, man. That is no good. It's no good. Moving on to the next story. After a poor night of sleep, Lostful Codex, again, name of the user, laid down midday, take a nap, little midday snooze, then recalls a strange feeling in their head, but believes it to be just a side effect of sleep deprivation. Then from the corner of the room, they heard South Park, as if there was a television sitting right beside their bed, although there isn't. A ringing and high-pitched whooshing sound joined in the chorus. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't lift their arms or head. That's the most terrifying aspect of my personal experience, I think, was not being able to move and feeling completely vulnerable to this thing. Then they heard a knock at the window. Fuck that. Man. Especially at the house that I live in, man, there is zero reason for anybody to be knocking on my window, man. If somebody knocks on my window, there is nothing good happening outside at all, man. Whew, fuck that. Behind the glass pane crouched a dark, faceless figure. A second figure of identical structure entered through the bedroom door and sat at the edge of the bed. Fuck this shit. The shadow person spoke. I would be afraid to. This is what nightmares are made of. Man, fuck that. You got... Alright, so you're in our bedroom a little bit here. So there's a window here. Our doorway's right over there. Alright, our bed's right there. Alright, it's not a huge... It's a master bedroom. It's not the biggest bedroom ever. Alright, so imagine a little... That in and of itself is freaky enough. Me knowing that it's me doing it still sends chills down my spine. Looking out that window and seeing a figure crouched. Okay? So we're freaked out a little bit just off of that. And then you see another figure not only walk, just come through your door. Just come straight through your door. It sits down on the edge of your bed. Looks you dead in the face and says, yeah, I'd be fucking scared too. I am what fucking nightmares are made of. If you haven't shit yourself by now, you're not fucking human. Fuck that shit, man. If this story has an ounce of legitimacy to it, no thank you. It goes on to say, the Lostful Codex was confident that it was a dream, but it seemed inescapable. The room faded in and out, and then the user woke up. It was easily the scariest experience they'd ever had with what they classified as lucid dreaming. So we're going to move on to another one. Mac Weirdo 42's earliest memory involves a shadow person. They were 2 or 3 years old. How the fuck you remember shit when you're 2 or 3 years old? But whatever. They're 2 or 3 years old, and they recall walking to see a dark shadow on the walls beside their crib. A shadow with bright white eyes has started moving towards them. Excuse me. They moved to the other side of the crib, but another shadow person was approaching from that side as well. Ah, man, these group shadow people getting in on it, man. Fuck that. One at a time, please. One at a time. Neither creature had any form that could easily be discerned. They were just pitch black against an already shadowed wall with nowhere to go. They crouched in the center of their crib. Their parents recalled them, telling them the shadows were trying to get them. Fuck that, man. I don't have any memories from when I was 2 or 3. Maybe you do. But man, imagine that being your first experience. That's the experience that kind of like wakes your brain into reality and into remembering things. And that's the first one. Holy shit. trying to get away from it, crawling to the other side of the crib, and there's another one coming from the other side. They get in the crib with you. I mean, fuck that. Fuck that. That's some crazy shit. Wow. Alright, so moving on to the next story. Oh, man. At 3 a.m. one morning, nope, can't say that name. I don't even know what that shit is. Some weird username woke and went to the kitchen to get some water. On their way, they stumbled upon a shadow person sitting in the recliner in the family room. Oh, man. Dude, I'm done right there. I'm out. I'm going back to bed. I'm getting Trish. I'm getting the kids. We're heading down to the Super 8, man. We're done with this place for tonight. Oh my God. Stumbled upon a shadow person sitting in the recliner in the family room. They had been seeing shadow people their entire life, so the sudden appearance wasn't that startling. They stood still for a couple minutes to be certain. So you're just standing eye to eye, looking at this shadow person chilling in your fucking recliner. As their eyes adjusted to the dark, it became clear a shadow person was sitting in their living room, man, just staring at them. So they started moving towards it. The figure seemed undaunted. And when they were 3 feet apart, as close as I am to this camera, the shadow person evaporated. That's some ballsy shit, man, walking right up on it like that. Next story. 6th grade. So says Slufair attended a barbecue at a local park. After a day of playing with their classmates, it was time to head home. The older kids were tasked with collecting the younger kids and getting them ready to leave. The park wasn't that big, so finding all the kids proved easy. But then things took a turn towards the paranormal. About halfway across the park, they saw a dark figure of what appeared to be a toddling small child. Maybe some black-eyed children sneaking in a little bit here. Thinking it was one of the kids they were looking for, the user and their friend ran after the shadow, yelling at it to stop. But when the figure reached the end of the park, it turned white, dropped all fours, ran up the tree like a cat, and leapt over a wall. The user and their friend ran away terrified, unsure of exactly what they saw. That seems to be the right response. If you're following a shadow, turns white, scampers up a tree, jumps a fence, it might be time to call it a night and get the fuck out of there. Moving on. One night, Mr. Tibbles, 32, was 5 and trying to fall asleep. A shadow person appeared before their window and seemed harmless, just passing back and forth through the window, appearing if someone was floating just outside the window. Floor of the house, 20 feet off the ground. Whew, man. No living human could be outside that window. This continues to happen. Sometimes more than one would appear. Man, fucking shadow people in groups. 2 shadow people would interact. The user didn't realize what they were seeing at the time. They just believed it to be a childish fantasy like Peter Pan. It was only recently that they were able to pinpoint exactly what they'd seen, and it wasn't no fucking Lost Boy. Pine Wolf 14 has encountered shadow people more than once. Often they hear them breathing. I haven't heard a lot of stories of people hearing them breathing. Or feel a shadow hovering over them while they sleep. They heard whispers saying, "Don't move," in the middle of the night. Wisely, the user never did. But on one night, this changed. Instead of lying still, they rolled over and came, oh, fuck! Face to face with a shadow person. Oh, man, if the two had been any closer, their foreheads would have been touching. Opened their mouth to scream, but there were hands around their throat, choking them. They started to thrash around, punching and kicking at the shadow person, until suddenly the shadow person vanished. Fuck that! Alright, man, picture that for a second. You're asleep. You're dead asleep. And you wake up to that. And it tells you, don't move. You choose that you're going to move. And you're just going to roll away from it. You're just going to pretend it's not happening. Let me roll over in my bed. You roll over in your bed, and there it is, man. Lying in your bed with you, just staring. Fuck that. Man, fuck that. Moving on, man. Jesus. A few years ago, Mistress of Dark was sleeping over at a friend's house. had trouble sleeping, and as they were lying awake, a tall, solid black silhouette entered the bedroom. It's not good, man. It wore a top hat and long coat and looked like a male figure. He sat in a chair beside the bed and stared at them. After a few seconds, he started talking. The user doesn't remember the conversation exactly, as the experience took place 5 years ago, but it was a harmless encounter, and the shadow person seemed genuinely interested in them. Then a second shadow person appeared. Same black silhouette, but at this time a woman. Strangely, she was crawling. Man, I don't know why that wakes me out so much. The man sitting beside in the chair told them not to look, and the woman wouldn't notice them. She was not a good entity. Shortly after the woman left, and at dawn, the shadow man vanished too. Whoo! All right. Wow. Did you imagine that, man? You've already seen one shadow person, and then he tells you that another shadow person's in the room and is crawling, and don't look at it. Because if you look at it, man, it's not a good entity, and there may not be much he can do to help you after. Holy fuck, man. Fuck that. All right. So that's going to wrap it up on the stories. We are we're going to get here into the last little part here. Man, we're getting close to the end here. We're going to talk about the old hag and the shadow man / demon. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Those stories, man. I'm kind of regathering myself here a little bit, man. That last one. Oh, man, fuck that. So, all right. So if you find yourself awoken from a deep sleep but couldn't move your body, no matter how hard you struggled, you could not move at all, wondering if you were actually not awake, but then realizing that you are indeed completely lucid. This is known as sleep paralysis, and it is a common occurrence worldwide. In and of itself, it's not remarkable. It's medically recognized, according to the encyclopedia. There we go. Sleep paralysis is a completely temporary thing occurring in connection with sleep, and especially upon awaking. So let's kick it up a notch. Have you ever found yourself experiencing these symptoms, but this time you've had the strange pressure that you feel bearing down your body, feeling a huge amount of weight pressing down on your chest, feeling like someone is in the room that shouldn't be there? This seems a lot like my experience. Looking around in a panic as only your eyes can move, you see in the corner of the room what looks like to be either an old woman who looks like a witch with white long hair and black clothing. If not her, how about the large figure of a menacing man, demonic presence, who appears to be nothing more than a shadow, but clearly defined, and he has that goddamn top hat on, man. If you haven't been told already, I'm not alone in this experience. The event of the hag and the shadow / man demon has happened so frequently and across so many different parts of the world that it is literally a phenomenon. The big question on this, is this actually a paranormal event that so many people are experiencing, or is it some type of mass hysteria or paranoia that has people imagining the same thing? It's obvious that skeptics would agree with the latter. This phenomenon has been brought on by all the mass hysteria. These skeptics would certainly claim that the subject who had the experience has at some point, even on a subconscious level, been exposed to this story, and they've brought that on as this occurrence with no explanation as to the timing of the occurrence or anything like that. Again, I've talked about it a little bit. There's nothing good about the old man, or the hag, or the witch. Most stories end in death. Not death with the person that saw it necessarily. Really, even most of the time, it's more family death, or something along those lines. The top hat guy and the old hag, the witch figure, have been credited as being the worst ones to see. Not the ones that you want to interact with at all. So in closing, shadow people are definitely being seen by people all around the world, many different forms, and in all times of day. Are they demons? Are they lost spirits trying to find a way home? Are they a collector of souls? Is your mind just playing tricks on you? we may never really know for sure. But what we do know is whether real, whether fake, whether they're in our mind, shadow people seem to be here to stay, and seem to be here to stay for quite some time. This has absolutely been the freakiest episode of An Education in Horror, for me personally. And one day maybe we'll dive back into this a little bit. I'd kind of like to do a little update on this one maybe in the future, going over some of your stories, and maybe I'll get to a point that I'm willing to open up to a story that happened to me really not too long ago. But the more I think about it, the more I really think that man, it's just hard to explain it any other way, other than a shadow person was fucking with me pretty hard. But anyways, that's for a later time. This has, again, episode 3, Education in Horror. Did a little drunk this time, hopefully. Hopefully you liked it. If you didn't, let us know. We'll adjust it. Drunk JC can go away. Drunk James, we don't have to bring him back out. He can go sleep forever. It's fun. But maybe you like Drunk James. Maybe Drunk James is a little more loose. A little loosey-goosey for you, right? Anyways, I'm done. I'm done with Shadow People. I'm done with y'all for tonight. We'll see you shortly. Have a wonderful evening.